Oh, hi. You caught me winning crane games on the first try. It's my secret power. Speaking of secret powers, let's talk about some forgotten Marvel superheroes' powers. Hello, welcome to Comic Tropes. I'm your host, Chris. Hey, Marvel Comics has been serializing superhero stories since the late 1930s, so it's only natural that across decades and decades of stories, writers would try new things. Sometimes that expands the lore of the characters, and other times it just doesn't feel true to the character. So that's specifically the angle that I want to look at today. I'm going to look at times when new powers were introduced, and they were either too powerful or too weird, and were quickly forgotten. Hey, before I go too far, I would really appreciate it if you hit like and subscribe. Maybe leave a comment below. I'll have a question towards the end. And yeah, hit that bell icon. That'll notify you when new episodes come out, which is pretty frequently. All right, let's get into it. Some superhero powers that were forgotten, and for the heck of it, sure, why not do 10? The algorithm likes that. Iron Man. To be fair, this is more of a lesser-known ability, not completely forgotten, but Iron Man's suit includes roller skates. That super well-known high-tech accessory of roller skates. Look, skating around is fun, but it seems a bit unnecessary when you have repulsor technology that allows you to fly. In Iron Man's second ever appearance, Tales of Suspense number 40, Tony Stark brags to the military about his new rocket-powered skates, and the general he's speaking to is absolutely blown away by the idea of putting soldiers on roller skates. Iron Man first uses them himself in issue 45, thinking to himself how he could have always flown. I guess they're just really fun. Because even when Rhodey took over as Iron Man, he can be seen skating around for fun. Iron Man loves bragging to Captain America about his obscure ability. As recently as Iron Man issue 20 from June of 2022, writer Christopher Cantwell and artist Angel Unzueta gave us some of Tony zipping around on his roller skates during a time when his more advanced armors weren't working properly. Still, I think we'd be hard-pressed to find an example of Iron Man beating a supervillain like Fin Fang Foom with roller skates. Doctor Strange. As the Sorcerer Supreme, what power could Doctor Strange have that would surprise anyone? He can magic away just about any problem as the master of the mystic arts. Well, less well known is that he's also a master of the martial arts. Stephen Strange may not rely on hand-to-hand combat too often, but he has been known to throw a kick when he needs to, having trained extensively with Wong, his assistant. Doctor Strange has fought Wolverine in Sorcerer Supreme issue 41, and the Ninja Clan known as the Hand in New Avengers Volume 2 number 5. But one of his most impressive moments was in battle with Mantis in Defenders issue 9. Mantis has taken down Thor with her martial arts, but Doctor Strange could keep up, no problem. Thor. As the god of thunder, Thor is one of the most powerful superheroes in Marvel's stable. He has super strength and stamina, he can fly, and his magic hammer can do all sorts of cool stuff, including summoning storms. Jack Kirby would often give Thor one-time powers that never came back, like tilting his hammer at just the right angle to hypnotize people, or do something where he says he's throwing alpha particles from the atmosphere at his enemy's guns, whatever that means. But my favorite extra power he got has to be super ventriloquism. Jane Foster was held at gunpoint by some gangsters, and rather than brush off the bullets, Thor threw his voice to distract the gunman. I love thinking about Thor using that power here and there. Hey Loki, it's me, Thor. Bet you can't find me. Beast. Beast is arguably the smartest X-Men member, and on top of that, he has super strength and agility. But in a limited series about Mephisto, the devil of Marvel's universe, Mephisto revealed an extra ability of Beast. Apparently, Beast exudes pheromones that make women attracted to him. You thought people were won over by his intelligence and kind personality? Nope. Apparently, it was just pheromones all along. That's maybe the meanest thing Mephisto ever did. Beast is one of the few X-Men to become an Avenger and be beloved by the public. And Mephisto's just like, nah, you excrete pheromones to make people like you. Namor. Namor, the Submariner, is the king of Atlantis. He's half Atlantean and half human. He can breathe underwater, swim fast, and he's a mutant with the ability to fly and has super strength equal to the Hulk. That should be plenty of power for any superhero. But in Fantastic Four number 9, Stan Lee either forgot what Namor's powers were or decided he needed more by giving him fish powers, like an electric eel. He also had something called fish radar to find Invisible Woman. That one hurts my brain just trying to understand. But my favorite of these one-time powers was in 1963's Strange Tales issue 107, where he fought the Human Torch. Namor is flying after Human Torch, who dodges an iceberg. Thinking fast, Namor inflates himself like a puffer fish. Seeing Namor go from being chubby and stuck in the ice to deflated, normal, and happy is an absolute delight. That story got reprinted in Marvel Tales number 9 in 1967, and at the end it includes this little editor's note that just says, this story took place before Namor lost those powers. Because yeah, who wants to see a story where he gained and lost all these extra powers? A note is much more satisfying. Human Torch. You know, as long as I mention Namor's fish radar, let's point out a similar ability with Human Torch. Now, Stan Lee gave him all sorts of heat-related powers in the earliest issues of Fantastic Four, with some pretty flimsy science. He could fly because hot air rises. He could make ropes and nets out of fire. One time, Human Torch used heat to create a mirage of a stick of dynamite to terrify Dr. Doom. But the best one-time power had to be in issue 17. The team is just kind of hanging out. The Thing is reading comics. When Mr. Fantastic says they should find Dr. Doom, he puts on a sci-fi hat to do that, and Human Torch says he'll find Dr. Doom with a new idea he had. He flies into the sky and says he'll use heat sonar to sense Dr. Doom's steel suit. I don't know how that would work, and to be fair, it doesn't work. But Human Torch acted like it would, so I'm counting that as a new power. Spider-Man. Spider-Man was bitten by a radioactive spider which changed his DNA and gave him some pretty cool powers. But one of them he got way later, talking to spiders. When he started out, Spidey could not talk to spiders like Ant-Man talks to ants. But in the 2005 crossover story, The Other, Spider-Man dies and emerges from a cocoon with new abilities. He now has arm stingers, for instance. He has organic webbing, like in the movies that had just come out a few years prior. And he can heal fast, which is helpful after a villain rips his eyeball out. But Spider-Man also gained the ability to talk to spiders. Technically, all insects and arachnids. That helps him know how to stop a bomb. Spider-Man quickly lost those powers in 2007, just about a year after he gained them, when Marvel decided to have Spider-Man make a deal with Mephisto, and basically his marriage went away, his aunt got better, and those new powers just disappeared. No explanation. Wolverine. In 2014, Marvel killed off one of their most popular characters, Wolverine. Sure, they inserted Old Man Logan, a variant from the future, but Wolverine was gone for 5 years. We knew he'd be back, and in 2019, writer Charles Soule, who had written Death of Wolverine, wrote Return of Wolverine, where a character named Persephone turbocharged Wolverine's healing abilities and brought him back. And this wasn't your grandpa's Wolverine. Now his adamantium claws, which could always cut through anything, got hot. Yes, when Wolverine's anger burned bright and he went into berserker mode, his claws turned red hot. It wasn't anything that really benefited Wolverine, and when Jonathan Hickman did a light reboot of X-Men in 2019, less than a year later, the X-Men gained the ability to come back from the dead, and Wolverine went back to his status quo. Wolverine's hot claw powers lasted less than a year. Magneto. Magneto is the master of magnetism. He can throw metal around and somehow make force fields with alternating magnetic currents. But one time, he briefly had the ability to turn invisible. In issue 4 of The Vision and the Scarlet Witch, the two heroes visit the Inhumans on the moon. Scarlet Witch's father, Magneto, uses his powers to fly to the moon, but also to walk around undetected and invisible. He's never done this since. That said, this power makes more sense to me than force fields. If you could control the electromagnetic spectrum, you could bend light. That's a reasonable extrapolation of those powers. At the same time, that would make him even more powerful. He's already an incredibly powerful mutant. I understand why they let this power disappear. Hulk. Finally, who would need more power than the Hulk? He's the strongest there is, and he gets even stronger if he's angry. On top of that, he has an incredible healing power. One of his few weaknesses has been that he needs to breathe. Until he didn't. In 2005's Incredible Hulk number 77, Hulk battled a giant squid. When he finally came up for air, he thought to himself how he had developed a gland that allowed him to breathe underwater. In 2012's Hulk number 9, Hulk thinks to himself during another underwater battle that he can always evolve to breathe underwater. And it was confirmed in Maestro World War M issue 2, when a future version of the Hulk, who's evil, confronts Namor underwater. And Namor notes, Hulk can breathe underwater. Fortunately, that ability to not need to breathe air underwater, it's basically been forgotten. Because I think that that's an example of what comic book readers will call power creep. That's when writers are looking for new ways to challenge the hero, but they keep increasing their abilities as well. They just steadily creep up in power. And every once in a while, that can lead to something really cool. Superman used to leap tall buildings in a single bound. But then when the radio and the animated series came around, they gave him the ability to fly. And I think that that's pretty iconic. But most of the time, it just makes life a little too easy for the character if they keep getting more and more powerful. There's no more challenges for them. It doesn't always fit the character. So these are all examples where new things were tried, they basically got forgotten or left behind, or at least are lesser known, lesser used. But I'd love to hear from you. What's an example of a one-time, or at least a little used, superpower from a superhero? What's your favorite example? These were just 10 Marvel examples that I wanted to share with you. Some pretty obscure trivia, I suppose, a deep dive. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd love to hear your comments below. I'll be back real soon, and until I see you next time, you know your marching orders. Keep reading comics. Bye. I'm curious, so I challenged myself by saying I'm going to choose weird, obscure, one-time powers from just Marvel, just to make it a little trickier for myself. And it started with me thinking about the Hulk and how he could breathe underwater that one time. But I'd love to know if there's any from other publishers, certainly DC, like what's your favorite there? Or, there's also superheroes from Image and Dark Horse and all sorts of stuff. I'd love to hear if you've got some sort of weird trivia, like a one-time ability, one-time use of an ability. They certainly did it in the Superman movies back in the day, the Christopher Reeve ones especially. What was it? Number 4. He just looks at the Great Wall of China that's been busted up, and that fixes it. He's got super fixo vision. If you're curious, I've got a second channel called Comic Tropes After Dark. Every Monday night, I do a live stream recapping comic book news and the reviews of the biggest comics that came out the previous week. And we also sometimes do a show, Jim Mafood and I, called Trash Movie Bonanza. And this time we did Supergirl, so I think you might enjoy that. We talk about it for well over an hour. There's a lot to say about the crazy live-action Supergirl movie. By the way, I wanted to let you know, over on my Patreon, I have been doing something for folks at just the $2 and up tiers. So for as little as $2 a month, you can get an extra episode. Now, it's not quite as edited with images, but I always put together an essay. I let people vote on what we're going to do for that month, and then I give them a dedicated episode. Thanks so much for watching. See you real soon. Bye.